Welcome back to Let's Fix It. We're really coming in on the back side of this generator project, and I apologize for that. I've already showed you in a previous video how to clean the carburetor, and I have cleaned this one. And there was an issue with the float in it where the needle valve was too long. Somebody has taken this apart and worked on it before, and I'm sure the guy had good intentions. And you can, if you've got the same carburetors, you can mix and match a few parts. But I don't recommend it because most of these carburetors are engineered to work with certain items. And unless you're putting back exact same items, they're different. On generator carburetors, these are a lot like the snowblower carburetor I showed you. There's no throttle. This is the throttle plate, but it's hooked up to a governor down here, and the governor controls the speed. This one has a choke lever on it, similar to the last carburetor. One difference is it has an exhaust recirculation port on it. Fuel line comes in here straight into the carburetor. Now the carburetor I'm replacing it with is this Amazon bought $14 carburetor, probably made in China. There's some real manufacturing quality issues. The port here is much smaller for the fuel inlet. The hole's drilled a little bit off center. The exhaust recirculation port, again, is drilled off center. The choke lever didn't operate, and you'll see where I've changed the profile of this lever to make it work. The holes up here are a lot different, except for the one hole that I need is still in the right place. New carburetor did come with a new gasket. The old carburetor, when I had it apart a little while ago, I made this gasket. And the way you make these is you determine what size hole you need with a socket. Put a socket up into here and find one that fits the hole diameter right. The right size diameter. And then you put a socket over your gasket material and press it in a vise until you feel it snap, and then you just take the material out. Basically, you're using pressure to punch the hole. And these holes here, you can do with a socket or you can do with the drill bit. As long as you keep this hole a similar diameter, you'll be all right making your own gaskets. Gasket making is pretty simple. But the new $14 carburetor came with its own gasket. It also came with a brand new air filter and a spark plug. I've already got a new spark plug in this generator from the last time I worked on it, so I'm not real concerned with putting another new spark plug in it. So now, because this has a 90-degree fuel inlet, we're going to have to reroute this fuel line to come up into here. I might need to shorten this. If you watch the snowblower video I did, I really don't want this little loop in the bottom here where the fuel has to climb back up. But we'll see how that works out. So, first things first, we'll get the fuel line on that. This is a nice plastic fuel line, so you really don't need a clamp on it, in my opinion. Some may disagree with me. We'll get the throttle linkage in there and the exhaust recirculation line. You know what? That there is mighty loose. I'm not sure I like that. Let me see. I've got a clamp here and a pair of pliers. Let's see if this clamp will snug that line down. These are spring clamps, and I'm in the habit of reforming them a little bit to tighten them up. Put that down before I lose it. Okay. I don't know that's going to have enough pressure to squeeze that hose down. Nope, that doesn't change it at all. Still too loose. All right. Let's get that back off of there. All right, if I don't get that on there tight, what that's going to do is that's going to create a vacuum leak. I really don't want a vacuum leak. Give me a minute to find a new clamp, please. All right, so I've got a new carburetor for this generator, and I wanted to show you a couple things. On the old carburetor, you can see right here that the seal on the cup is not fitting real well. It's dried up and not too good. But one of the things I wanted to show you, let's get this apart. It's with the float. Alright. Now we see on the new carburetor, this float sets just a little past level. On the old carburetor, well, that's unfortunate. It just all fell apart. Be right back. All right, got it back together. On the old carburetor, I never could get the float to set level, and even though it got to set down here where I wanted it, it's still not running right. And I got it there by modifying the needle valve. Focus on that. Come on now. There you go. What I've done, I ground the head off of the needle valve, off the needle, trying to shorten it up. Somebody has taken this apart and put the wrong needle in there. I don't know if you can see the needle on this one. It's got a thicker head on it. Let me just pull it apart real quick. There it is. It's got a thicker head on it. The reason the other one's thin like that is because I took and ground it down. At any rate, you can see the points are also different. Okay, so on the old carburetor, man, it gets centered up. On the old carburetor, the needle is much pointier than on the new carburetor. And so I think I've got a needle and seat mismatch, which was causing what I'm assuming is the running issues with this generator. So we're going to put this new carburetor in it. Put this back together. I got one other thing about the carburetors I want to show you. Again, I think I've discussed this in other videos. When you're putting the bowl back on a carburetor, the bowl has an indentation right here. This indentation needs to line up with the hinge of the float so the float can travel all the way to the bottom of the bowl. If you do this backwards, the float will stop against the bowl. Alright, this carburetor right here, I believe is probably a Chinese knockoff carburetor. Ordered it off of Amazon for $14, which is much less expensive than the OEM carburetors, but you can see there's some obvious differences. This is the throttle plate on the old one. This is the throttle plate on the new one. Got bigger holes. Holes are in different places. Fortunately, this is the hole I need to use, and it also is on this carburetor right here in the same location, so we're good there. The other thing that's different is this is the choke lever. On the old carburetor, this is the choke lever on the new carburetor. On the old carburetor, this has a more rounded profile. Consequently, it operates smoother. On this one, it doesn't have the round profile. So on this one, if you take it all the way to choke, it goes over center and there you are stuck. It's hard to return. I don't like that. So what we're going to do is take a Dremel and we're going to change the profile of this, deepen this notch a little bit, round this off, and add the notch the same as in this one over here. I don't mind doing that. It's a $14 carburetor. Who cares? When we get all done, if it really doesn't work, I'm out 14 bucks. I don't care. There's some other quality differences you can see. There's the fuel inlet, how the hole's nice and centered. Here's the fuel inlet on the Chinese carburetor. It's not as big, and it's not even centered. Same with the emission recirculation. Nice big hole, centered. Small hole, not centered. There again, it's manufacturing differences. One other minor difference is the fuel line connector on this is straight. This one has a 90 degree. I'm going to have to reroute the fuel line a little bit to get that hooked up. There again, you get what you pay for. And I bought a cheap carburetor. We'll see if it works. Alright, I'm happy with how that works. It's much smoother. Alright, got a little screw clamp on here. I'm not a big fan of these, but this will do what I need it to do, I'm sure. All right, she's snug now. Get this. Make sure we get our gasket on there. Sometimes a third hand would be good. All right. Theoretically, this carb shouldn't need any adjustment. It might, if it needs any. This is the adjustment right here with the little plastic cap on it. And I say it shouldn't need any adjustment because the manufacturer put that cap on there to make it difficult to adjust. All right. All right. So leave the fuel line right there the way that is. Let's get the new air filter on it. Put the important decal to the upside so anybody borrowing my generator will see there's something important to read. Check the engine oil level every 5 hours and fill to mark with SAE 30 oil. My dad's got a generator, or had a generator, that does use oil. So if you're using these things, letting them run for days at a time, these little 4-stroke motors, they do use some oil. All right, I think we're ready to set it down. Open the fuel valve and see if she'll run. All right, since we came in on the back side of this project and I didn't get to show you everything that I should have showed you, which I've covered in previous videos on different equipment, I'll tell you something about this power back 5,000 watt generator. On this end, it has 4 plugs. It has 240 volt 20 amp and 120 volt 20 amp. It also has 2 reset for either circuit you're on. And when I got this, it had a bad fuel tank on it. That's the new fuel tank, and the company sent that at no cost. They were in a settlement, and they had some bad tanks. At any rate, I knew this thing should have had an on-off switch, but it really didn't occur to me that it'd be on the other end of the machine down here. Now, most of your lawn and garden equipment have this line, and then they have this O. This O is not for on. That O is for off. And as embarrassing as this is for me, I put fuel in this thing. Well, I changed the tank, put fuel in this, and pulled and pulled and pulled on this thing until my shoulder was shot, not realizing that I had never turned on the motor, never turned on the ignition. Once I turned on the ignition, it fired right up, although it never did run good, hence the carburetor. So let's see if it'll start now. We got the new carburetor in there, the new Chinese Amazon $14 carburetor. All right, here we go. Once again, O is for off, not for on. So we gotta put it up to the line. The line could be an I for ignition. That would make sense. Choke is on. I've got fuel down the line to the carburetor. So Wish me luck. All right, we seem to have done a good job. Now I'll tell you, one of the things I've done is I've put some stable in the fuel. Seafoam is also another good product, actually one I might prefer. At any rate, when you're storing a generator, when you turn it off, turn your fuel line off to it if it doesn't run out of fuel, and let the engine use all of the fuel in the carburetor, because what fouls a generator up is setting between uses. The carburetors will varnish up with the fuel in there. So turn your fuel line off and let the generator run itself dry on fuel. All right, hey, thanks for watching Let's Fix It. Be sure and hit the like button and subscribe if you want to see more. Leave me a comment at the bottom. Have a great day.